Hi brides-to-be, I'm Zoe B and welcome to the DIY series of the Luxe Bride wedding blog. So I hope you've all had a great week. Today's tutorial is going to be table numbers. I've done 6 variations and they are all so simple. I'm using things from around the house, a couple of frames from IKEA, and I'm sure you can find something very similar at the hardware store. This tutorial is for those that don't have access to a vinyl printing machine. We all want one, they're amazing. Mine is actually on the way, the order has been placed. But not everyone wants to allocate budget to a vinyl machine if they're planning on DIYing their wedding. This technique means you can produce professional looking table numbers without needing any creative flair or talent whatsoever. Check out Luxe Bride on Instagram and www.luluxebride.com for the blog. There is so many helpful things on there. And comment, ask me questions, tell me what you want me to do my next tutorial on, and I'll be more than happy to do it. Let's get started.
So these are the things that I'm going to have a play with today to make our table numbers. I've got 2 frames from IKEA, a bell jar, and some gorgeous eucalyptus and some dried flowers. And I'm really excited to show you the 6 table numbers that I'm going to do for you today. They're all so different in style, but all so easy to do. And tell me below which one is your favorite. So first I'm going to start with the bell jar, and I'm using the masking tape to work out how wide I want to make my design. So 4 inches by 4 inches is what I go for. I go onto Canva and I create a design 4 by 4 and make my number. I cut it close to the edges, and now I'm just using a bit of masking tape to fixate it inside the bell jar. And once I've got it where I want, I'll just pop a bit more tape in there to fully secure it. Now I had handy a poster roll, so I popped that inside the bell jar and actually stuck that down just to stop it from rolling around. I then used my Sharpie fine point paint pen just to outline and trace the number, letting it dry in between and then filling it in with a thicker broadline pen. And I did about 3 coats. Now I brought in my snips of eucalyptus and dried flowers. I actually don't know what this one is, but the colour is beautiful. Pop them inside and then popped it onto the base. And I love the outcome. So for our next option, we're going to be using glass bottles. This is actually a wine bottle, and I'm just filling it up with water and submerging it in a bucket of water. The idea is that we want to get the labels off, leaving no residue, so we have a nice clean surface to work with. So this is olive oil, although I think any cooking oil will do, and this is bicarbonate of soda. I'm going to mix it together to make a paste that is hopefully going to bring up the label and reduce the residue. As you can see, there's no measurements here. It's about 5 big glugs of olive oil and a small tin of the bicarbonate. So I mixed it then in the water and submerged the bottle and actually left it overnight. So it's been soaking for about 12 hours. I take it out, dry it off, and just use a butter knife to lift the edges, and it peels off quite easy. I then put it back into the mixture, as there is some residue still on there, and the bicarbonate and oil work together with the glue to actually make a lather, which is then so easy to rinse off. I then just rinse it under the tap, rub it down with a sponge, and it is sparkling. Now the idea of this video is for if you are lacking some confidence in the freehand department. So here is a trick so you can get a gorgeous number that looks like a calligrapher did it, but without having those amazing skills. So I just printed out a number just like I did before in Canva. So I'm turning the number over and using a piece of chalk and colouring in the back anywhere I can faintly see the outline. With a ballpoint pen, I'm then wrapping the number around the bottle, holding it tight, and then just really drawing in, making a deep indentation into the bottle. The idea is the chalk will transfer to the bottle wherever you have written. Now, it's really hard to see on here, but there is a very faint line and a perfect guideline for me. So I'm just going to use my pen, the Sharpie white paint pen, and follow along that outline that the chalk has left me. As always with these pens, give it 3 coats and allow it to dry between each coat. Now I filled the bottle up with 3/4 water and I'm popping in the eucalyptus leaves. Now you can use herbs, any kind of leaves, and this can create a beautiful effect. Top it up with water right to the top, and I'm going to stick a candle in the top here, so I'm just going to get a lighter and heat the bottom of the candle just to soften it, so it softens it and the candle can be pushed into the bottleneck easily. And there's the final result. I think it looks really effective, very classy, minimalistic, and perfect for the modern bride. And now we're already halfway through. So this one I'm using the smaller frame from IKEA, and I'm using just one of the pieces of acrylic that was sandwiched in. It was 16 centimeters by 16 centimeters, so I went on Canva, made my design accordingly, printed out the fonts, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. So I'm going to use my Sharpie pen and trace the lettering. As always, a few layers, leaving it to dry in between. If you'd like any further information on how I use the program Canva for all my design needs, then take a look at my how to make an acrylic wedding sign video, and I actually do a screen record doing a step-by-step tutorial on how I use that website. Once it's dry, I am going to take an acrylic base paint. This one's from Deco Art. It's rose gold metallic matte, and I love the colour. I'm going to take a small paintbrush and just do 3 coats on the back of the acrylic. Now you can buy one of these stands, and I actually did for my wedding, as my plexi was a lot thicker and therefore heavier. However, these small plastic sheets from IKEA from their frame are so thin and light, I think you can create a frame holder with just some thick cardstock. So here's how. So I took a 300 GSM watercolor paper that I had just lying around the craft room, and I folded it in half and then measured a 4-inch square on the paper. You're then going to go 1 inch up and then across to the opposite side, and then cut in a little tooth, which will become much clearer once I start cutting. So 1 inch in, then cut diagonally down, and then a little tooth. And when you open it, it should look something like this. Now the thicker card you use, the more sturdy it's going to be. And here's the finished product, and I think it looks so elegant. So for this next one, I went for a bit more of a modern font. It's a free one on Canva, I'll link it below. And I'm using some Velum translucent paper. And this stuff's great. You can even use it for your invitations as an amazing sleeve, but I will show you how to do that in another video. So I'm just going to stick both pieces of paper down with a bit of masking tape just to keep them really still while I begin to trace. I'm using the Deco Colour Gold Paint Opaque Marker in broad line, and I'm just going to dab it and make sure it's running smoothly. And with this, you don't want to be going over the lines multiple times as it just doesn't look good. So you've only really got one chance. But you are tracing, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Just take your time and try and keep a steady hand. I'm now going to take my guillotine and just cut the vellum to 2 inches smaller than the frame. And then I'm going to take this gorgeous dark navy cardstock and cut that 1.5 inches smaller than the frame. I then used my ruler as a guide and ripped along the edges of the cardstock downwards towards me and giving quite a loose hand, so this made that rough organic edge. Once you sandwich them together with the extra piece of acrylic, we are going to need some gold spray paint. This is antique gold and I love it. I'll put the brand in the link below. And I've just sprayed the IKEA frame with a couple of coats. And I'm just going to slip both pieces of acrylic back into the frame. I love the gold accents and I really hope you guys love it too. We are on to number 5 and this one is so easy. So I've just taken the exact same font template that I made on Canva, but this time I've printed it out in landscape so that it's printed out long ways, and I've printed it on vellum. So it has that gorgeous translucent texture and looks a lot more professional than just on a normal paper. So when you print on vellum, you need to let it dry for at least half an hour because the ink doesn't like to sink into the plastic coating. So leave it to dry, and once it is, all you need to do is put a little bit of double-sided sticky tape on one side. Get yourself one of your freshly cleaned wine bottles. Roll and wrap, and that is literally it. Now, with all the zesty Mediterranean theme weddings that are happening and the obsession with the blue and white decorative tiles, I thought I'd give this one a go. So I started out cutting very thin slices of orange, and my intention is to dehydrate them. These can be really cute as well as decorative embellishment on your signature cocktails. So you want to turn your oven to 90 degrees only, that's 90 degrees Celsius, and you're going to put each of the slices spread out on a baking tray on tin foil. Once on there, you want to powder them with sugar, and then they will cook in the oven for up to 2 hours. But make sure you check on them in the last hour to check they're not burning. And the leftovers and any bits that didn't cut to a perfect circle, I pop them in a jar and mix them with water for some orange infused water. Yum. So I went onto Canva and looked in their backgrounds and photo selection and typed in blue tile, and these gorgeous ones came up. Now I'm just going to use this one for today, and I just want to measure it with my frame, and I'm going to go in 1.5 inches smaller than my frame. I'm then doing the same technique as in every other one of the options on here, which is printing out the font I want on Canva and then tracing through with my Sharpie and my Deco color permanent paint pen in white. I then took some leaves from the garden. I have no idea what kind of plant this is, but I just thought the leaves were so green and vibrant, very Mediterranean. And then I've got my dehydrated oranges. I've placed them in, sandwiched them together with the extra piece of acrylic, and now I'm going to put it through to my frame. I actually painted this frame with a white. This is the Kryolan primer and paint, and I gave it a couple of coats. And there it is. Very unique, very original. I've not seen anything like it before, but perfect for that Mediterranean theme wedding. And comment below, guys, let me know if you love it too. Tell me if there is a style or a theme that you would like me to cover, and I will sure try and do it.